It would be ridiculous to keep an enormous reserve like this, as it'd just get in the way. But this is exactly what fat people do, and the excess of fat they carry makes their bodies less efficient.
Wow. Welcome back to Rod Radio TV. 1950s diet and nutrition advice. Let's go!
It has become a convention of society that at one-ups and cafes and a vast assortment of food is available, so why not? This film deals with the body's requirements in the way of food. A good diet is essential to good health. But although almost everyone in Britain
Certainly
can
is.
afford a healthy diet, not everyone selects one. That fat man, for example, he lives to eat, but he won't live long, as any life insurance company would tell you.
I'm just going to quickly say, they wouldn't dare say that now. First of all, calling him a fat man and then going, he lives to eat but he won't live long. It's true. But they wouldn't dare say it now in case someone got pissed, but they need to bring back that candidness from the 1950s where political correctness didn't exist and free speech was pretty much a given, so.
Potatoes and dumplings are all right, but not too many, as his friend well knows. He's not all that younger either, but he looks healthy, unlike that girl over in the corner. She's dead keen on slimming. Nothing wrong in that, but she cuts down on food that her body really needs. Things like milk, butter, eggs, and she could do with some good green vegetables too. But even there's a snag, as vegetables can so easily be ruined by overcooking. Nutrients such
They
as
certainly
vitamin
can.
D dissolve out and alas may just be poured down the drain. There's no need to become eccentric about food. This man, incidentally, takes no chances with his vitamin C and eats half an ounce of parsley a day. Good luck to him. His diet of health foods is all right, but it isn't half as good as an ordinary simple meal like this one. What exactly do our bodies require from the food we eat? And how are these requirements met in a well-balanced diet? Well, to begin with, we need a supply of energy to enable us to perform the muscular movements we make in the normal course of living. Just as a factory requires a source of energy to drive the various machines it uses. Think of these processes as the equivalents of walking, talking, breathing, running, and so on. Every single movement requires some source of energy, which in the factory is supplied indirectly by the burning of fuel, while in the case of human beings, it is supplied by eating foods containing carbohydrates and fat, for instance, bread and butter and milk. Also potatoes and sugar, a pure carbohydrate, one spoonful containing about 25 calories of energy, just as one shovelful of Coke contains about 25,000 calories. Now, some of the heat in the furnace can also be used in another way, to raise the temperature of the factory, to keep it warm. Carbohydrates and fats keep our bodies warm in the same way. Some of the energy they contain isn't immediately used, but stored in the body as
What about the protein?
a reserve of energy, just as the factory keeps a small pile of Coke as a reserve. It would be ridiculous to keep an enormous reserve like this, as it'd just get in the way. But this is exactly what fat people do, and the excess of fat they carry makes their bodies less efficient.
Wow. I love the brutal honesty.
Now let's go back to our factory. Oh, what's this? Timber? Yes, factory. The building itself has to be maintained, and wood is required for replacing old doors, window frames, floorboards, and so on. In much the same way, food containing protein is used to replace the fabric of the body, which is continually wearing out. On this plate, the bodybuilding protein comes from meat and egg, if he can get it. Yes, egg. But the analogy goes even further. How about that short corner of wood which he's cutting off now? That can't possibly be used for building. All these short ends, however, can be burnt, and so they, like the Coke, can be used up to provide energy or give heat. In the same way, the proteins in our food may supplement the carbohydrates and fats to provide energy and to keep us warm, though their main purpose is to replace the worn-out fabric of the body and promote growth. Foods containing protein are meat, eggs, peas, and cheese. But there is also one food, milk, which contains every essential nutrient, not only proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, but dozens
Calcium.
of other things as well, which the body requires only in small amounts. They are like the various odds and ends kept in the factory stores. Typewriters, for example, also paint, string, electric light bulbs, dusters, and the like. The food equivalents might be said to be calcium, iron, iodine, sodium, and so on, known as the mineral elements. Calcium helps to harden the bones and teeth, for example. And milk, of course, isn't the only source. Meat and eggs contain iron for the blood. Sodium, chiefly from skin of the body. Iodine is found chiefly in fish, but is contained in most vegetables. To sum up, the whole body requires food in bulk for energy, warmth, growth, and so on. But certain organs require small quantities of special minerals, just as the factory requires small things like typewriters and paper in the office, and paint in a machine shop, not to mention electric light bulbs. But we've forgotten one thing: oil. Without oil, the whole organization would ultimately come to a standstill. Only a little is needed, but that little is vital to keep the wheels turning. Parallel, perhaps, in terms of food, are the vitamins.
I absolutely love the way they're breaking things down, explaining things with analogies like using oil in a factory to describe how vitamins help the body run, even though only little bits are needed. And even earlier with the excess coal, saying that you don't need loads and loads of excess, and then liken it to having loads of excess fat on your body. I love the way they're explaining it. It's just so easy to understand. It's really interesting. And it's just plain and simple truth. There's no political correctness, no worrying about offending people. I think it's really effective. This should be shown at, I don't know, a doctor's surgery if someone needs help or wants help with losing weight, you know.
Not that they lubricate, but they are essential to health. Without them, the body just won't work. Children need a little extra vitamin D to make the most of the bone-building calcium in their diet. But adults get all the vitamins they need from normal food. Cheese, for example, is a good source of some, and fruit and vegetables of others. Taking extra vitamins for ordinary people is as pointless as over-lubricating a piece of machinery. But there is a minimum, and to make sure that bread, for example, has an adequate content, the flour from which it is made is artificially enriched with some vitamins, as well as purified calcium carbonate to increase the calcium, a mineral which is needed by the bones. These additives ensure that flour produces a bread which is rich in many nutrients. Now let us summarize the essentials of a good diet. These are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, mineral elements, and vitamins. What do? Carbohydrates and fats can be bracketed because they both give energy for muscular movement. They keep the body warm, and some are stored in reserve. The best are milk, bread, butter, cheese, and bacon.
Love all those foods.
These contain other essential nutrients as well. People with strenuous jobs need more of this type of food to supply them with the necessary energy, and so do children. If they're still hungry, they can always top up with potatoes, rice, cake, biscuits, sugar, and ice cream, although these contain less of the other essential nutrients. But remember, people who eat a lot of this type of food and don't take exercise just get fat. Incidentally, still using up a little energy, even in sleep. Next, the proteins. They are used to promote growth in children and to replace the fabric of the body, which is wearing out all the time. They're obtained from meat, fish, milk, eggs, and cheese, and to a lesser extent from bread, nuts, peas, and beans. Small quantities of a variety of minimum elements are required by some organs of the body. The most important are sodium from salt, calcium from bread and milk, iron from eggs, and iodine from fish. Others are needed too, but they are provided in any normal diet. Lastly, the vitamins. They are used in a variety of different ways essential to health. The most important sources are meat, milk, butter, fruit, and vegetables. A good diet need cost no more than a bad one. It should be as varied as possible, and it should be enjoyed. But three important foods tend to get neglected in Britain today: milk, fruit, and vegetables. Not only does a good diet promote good health, it helps to maintain it too, as it enables the body to resist disease. This applies to everyone. Everyone.
Everyone. The fact that it made me laugh to talk about people just getting fat if they eat too much and don't move around, it shows just how sensitive we've started to become, you know, in society. And I think that's been to our detriment, really it has. Because brutal honesty is what's needed sometimes in helping people to be healthy. I also really found it quite interesting that they didn't demonise sugar, and also it was a good few decades before the low-fat craze started, in around 1980, give or take a couple of years. So I think people obviously they ate a lot less then, because people were skinnier. They ate less relative to what they did. They were a lot more active, and I think a lot of their food was just denser. There was no low fat, there was no low sugar, everything was high in this, high in everything. But I think they just ate less of it, so it was denser food with more in it. It was more quality and not quantity. And how the guy summarised at the end about carbohydrates, fat, protein, etc., and then vitamins, it just shows that we need a bit of everything. Going low fat or low carb probably isn't it for most people. You need a balanced diet. There were no frills. It was just plain and simple diet advice. And I think we could do with more of that now. Let me know what you thought of this one, if you agree or disagree with any part of it. And also, maybe for people that are older, any viewers that are older, what do you think? Do you think the diet is actually better now or back in the day? Let me know, and I'll see you in my next video.